Hello everyone, this time we will be watching the live coverage of the Ariane 5 VA237 launching two commercial communication satellites into geostationary transfer orbit to cover North and South America with in-flight communication, mostly in-flight and sea communication, that is internet and telephone connection on airplanes and ships where you don't really have a cable option. The rocket is operated by Arianespace. The Ariane 5 is a typical modern 2.5 stage design again, just like the H2A. It has a second stage that maneuvers the satellite into orbit and brings most of the circularization delta V, and a first stage that pushes it out of the atmosphere but doesn't have enough thrust to lift off on its own, and two boosters on the side that burn in parallel with the first stage and then jettison before the first stage, so that the first stage, which is then lighter since it has burnt most of its fuel, can propel the rocket most the way out of the atmosphere before separating. Now, we've already had a SpaceX livecast before this. The launch of CRS-11 was, however, scrapped to 2 days from now, which did make it a little bit easier to set up the stream anew for now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Harry Thibodeau, and I welcome you to the Kourou, Guyana Space Center, where tonight we're set to launch the third Ariane 5 of 2017. My comments are also being translated into French. Before we get set to go, let's hear from Stefan Israel, CEO of Arianespace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Arianespace is delighted to welcome you from the CSG for this new Ariane 5 mission, which is the third of the year with our heavyweight vehicle. In a few minutes, we are going to launch two key satellites for our customers and partners. ViaSat 2 for the American operator ViaSat. The satellite has been manufactured by our long-standing partner Boeing. Eutelsat 172B for the European operator Eutelsat. The all-electric spacecraft has been built by Airbus, another close partner of Arianespace. So I wish to thank ViaSat and Eutelsat for their trust. As you can see on the control screen behind me, Ariane 5 is on the launch pad after having been transferred yesterday. All the operations linked to the final countdown went well. So we should be in a position to launch at 8:45 p.m., the time of the opening of the launch window, which will last 1 hour. The overall performance to GTO required for this launch is 10 tons and 865 kilo, which should be another record for Ariane 5. As you know, the liftoff occurs 7 seconds after the H0 with the ignitions of the boosters. Ariane 5 will then head towards the east to separate the satellites on an elliptical orbit inclined at 6 degrees with respect to the equatorial plane. The perigee altitude will be 250 kilometers and the apogee altitude will be 35,706 kilometers. ViaSat 2 will separate first 29 minutes and 26 seconds after liftoff. Then Eutelsat 172B will separate 12 minutes and 21 seconds later. Our launch is now just a few minutes away. So go Ariane 5, go ViaSat 2 and Eutelsat 172B, and of course, enjoy the show. Thank you.
And there is the star of tonight's broadcast, the Ariane 5 ECA. She stands nearly 55 meters tall, tips the scales at 780 tons. You also see the green status panels highlighting all of the key activities and monitor that we monitor here. All is green right now, and green means go. The Ariane 5 has two solid rocket boosters, each 31 meters tall. When they ignite, the Ariane 5 will roar from the pad. They burn for just over 2 minutes, providing the raw power to get us in the sky. Tonight we're using a 17-meter fairing. It is covering ViaSat 2 in the upper position and Eutelsat 172B.
ViaSat contracted the launch of ViaSat 2 with Arianespace a year ago. This spacecraft is unique by many features, so the launch services had to live up to our customers' expectations. Mission analysis was initiated in March last year. Main objective was to consolidate the mission profile for one of the heaviest spacecraft launched in upper position on Ariane 5. A target for launcher performance was set in June 2016. A work plan was laid out to reach the performance by January 2017. In parallel, Ariane 5 improvement plan was ongoing. Some technical upgrades were consolidated, other were delayed, priority being a safe launch. In the end, ViaSat was offered adequate performance to be paired with one of the heaviest spacecraft in lower position on Ariane 5, Eutelsat 172B. Upon selection of this co-passenger late last year, the dual mission preparation was carried out and the final review held in February. After an eventful launch campaign, ViaSat and Boeing completed their preparation mid-May and are now ready to set a new Ariane 5 performance record.
We're back at Jupiter now. All remains green for the launch. Here's the VA237 Program Director's desk. For this evening, we see the Program Director for ViaSat 2 from Arianespace, also the Program Director for ViaSat, ViaSat 2, and also Bertice Romero, Program Director for Eutelsat 172B, and Christopher Duchesne, who is Eutelsat 172B Program Manager.
Welcome to the Arianespace Center. The Ariane 5 flight VA237 will embark in its lower position Eutelsat 172B, which will be the 32nd satellite launched by Arianespace for the telecommunications operator Eutelsat. This figure reflects the long-standing partnership of Eutelsat and Arianespace, which started in 1983 with the launch of Eutelsat 1F1, and currently more than half of the Eutelsat satellites have been orbited by Arianespace. Eutelsat 172B is based on the new all-electric platform of Airbus Defence and Space in Toulouse, the Eurostar 3000 EOR. It is the first all-electric telecommunications satellite built in Europe, and also the first of this kind to be launched by the Ariane 5 ECA vehicle. Arianespace is proud of participating on this European project, and we would like to thank Eutelsat for having put its confidence on us once more for the launch of this satellite. Personally, this is my 5th launch campaign with Eutelsat, and I have always enjoyed it. So I do look forward to seeing you soon for the next launch campaign.
And returning to Jupiter, great view of the rocket this evening. And we'll also be looking at the flight directorate. There's Stéphane Israel, CEO of Arianespace, and Roland Legire, the Senior Vice President of Engineering for Arianespace. They have the primary responsibility for tonight's mission. Tonight's the first time that Fleur Lefebvre serves as DDO. She's going to call out the 7-minute mark.
Top à 0-7 minutes.
And there it is. We've entered the synchronized sequence. Things happen pretty fast right now. Computers are assuming more and more control over the mission. making final checks and settings for the launch. Tonight is the culmination of a month of nonstop work at CSG. Let's see how we got here.
La mission Ariane 5
The VA237 flight will launch two telecom spacecraft. ViaSat 2 will be in the upper position, Eutelsat 172 in the lower.
The launch campaign is carried out as follows. First of all, we have mechanical integration with the assembly of different stages. Then, various functional controls of fluid, electrical, and avionics subsystems are carried out from the control bench. And at least, an overall synthesis control of the launcher is done.
The lower payload Eutelsat 172B arrived at Félix Éboué Airport on the 27th of April and was transferred to the S5 payload facilities. Mechanical and electrical checks started on the 28th of April with the mechanical fit check. Eutelsat 172B was transferred to the fueling facilities on the 11th of May. The spacecraft was fueled without anomalies between the 13th and the 17th of May. The launch campaign really started for ViaSat 2 on the 9th of May, with 1 week of standalone activities followed by the mechanical fit check. ViaSat 2's propellant filling operations went on between the 11th and the 15th of May without anomalies. Combined operations with the launch vehicle started for ViaSat 2 on the 17th of May with its flight mating onto the payload adapter. ViaSat 2 was then transferred to the BAF building on the 18th, hoisted onto the Silda on the 19th, and encapsulated under the fairing on the 20th of May. For Eutelsat 172B, combined operations with the launch vehicle started on the 19th of May with its flight mating onto the payload adapter. After transfer to the BAF on the 20th, it was hoisted onto the launcher on the 22nd and encapsulated under the Silda and fairing on the 23rd of May.
After the dress rehearsal, with the launcher, the two satellites and the range, we are then ready to enter the launch timeline, which takes place over 2 days. The first day is devoted to launcher transfer on its table to the launch pad, followed in the evening by filling the liquid helium sphere on the main stage. On D0, the final countdown follows by the synchronized sequence.
And 4 minutes to go till launch. We see another great shot of the Ariane 5. Everything still remains green for tonight. Total payload, as you heard, 10.8 metric tons, a new record for the Ariane 5 ECA, 10,865 kilograms to be exact, 10 metric tons made up of our two satellites, ViaSat 2 and Eutelsat 172B. The rest are support structures, including the Silda, covering Eutelsat 172B and serving as the base for ViaSat 2. Looking now at highly skilled engineers who work at a building called CDL3. It's located very close to the launch pad. I've been there a couple of times. It's really a bunker with walls and roof several feet thick. In the event of an emergency, you can seal it off from the outside world. 4 groups of people work there. The launch operations team, the Ariane production team, program production team, the quality management team, and the safety team for tonight's launch. And they are monitoring all of the technical aspects of the launcher and the payload. And tonight, they're responsible for launching the 558th and 559th satellites to be carried into space by the Ariane family of rockets. Another great view of the Ariane 5 ECA. You see it's been raining a bit today, but no problem there. We can launch in the rain, and it does rain here in Kourou. Just over 2 minutes from now, the Ariane 5 will roar to life, turn night into day here in Kourou, and send ViaSat 2 and Eutelsat 172B into space. You see those yellow arms around the rocket? We call them the bra down here in Kourou. They're not holding the rocket up. That's gravity. But what they're doing is supporting the fueling cables. And here in Kourou, that fuel is very cold and it's very hot in the Amazon jungle, so it boils off. We have to keep topping the tanks off till the last moment, and then they'll pull away from the rocket. Well, we're closing in on the last seconds of the countdown. The VIPs here at Jupiter are heading out to the balcony to witness the launch. We have an entire another group of VIPs from ViaSat and from Boeing, and they're out at
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute.
The Ariane 5 main engine is, of course, powered by
Top
H2
à 0
LOX,
moins
or
1 minute.
liquid hydrogen and LOX.
There is the announcement of the 1 minute mark. I was saying those VIPs are out at Tucson, about 5 kilometers from the launch pad. They are going to see, hear, and you better believe they are going to feel that rocket when it goes off the pad 40 seconds from right now. Special greetings to those watching at ViaSat locations around the world. Eutelsat has employees all around the globe. We welcome them. Airbus Defense and Space, and all the other industry partners in Europe. Okay, here it is, what we've been waiting for, the countdown in French.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage des 2 EAP et décollage Ariane 237.
And we have liftoff.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Of course, since the main engine is powered by hydrogen and oxygen rather than methyl and oxygen like the Falcon 9.
Well, no doubt about it. Night has turned to day, and the rumble in the Amazon jungle is that mighty Ariane 5 ECA. She's roaring out over Devil's Island. Take a look at that picture right now. 1 minute into flight coming up, and the Ariane 5 has already broken the sound barrier here in Kourou. The massive Jupiter facility that I'm at, we're going to start feeling it and hearing it. And here it is right now. I can begin to feel it. The massive Jupiter facility literally shaking as 1,300 tons of thrust breaks the Ariane 5 free from the bounds of Earth's gravity. 90% of that power is coming from the 2 boosters, burning 240 tons of solid propellant in 2 minutes, better than 2 tons a second. When the boosters have done their job, less than a minute from now, Ariane will be over 70 kilometers in the sky, racing away from us more than 1.6 kilometers a second. And that's faster than a speeding bullet. Information coming to us now from Galat,
Le pilotage est calme, la trajectoire est nominale.
Right behind us here in Jupiter. The next major event, the burnout and the jettison of those 2 solid rocket boosters. That will happen at 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the flight. So about 10 more seconds.
La propulsion est nominale.
Give us the horsepower, and then they will extinguish and fall away.
Séparation des 2 EAP.
And there you hear it from the
Trajectoire nominale.
The boosters have done their job. We don't need them anymore. On the pad, the Ariane 5 weighed 780 tons. By the way, look at the pictures from a previous flight of the boosters falling away. We're down now to
La propulsion est nominale. Les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
That is Weight Watchers if you've ever seen it. In the rocket business, when you get lighter, you go faster. And Ariane is now really moving on out about 91 kilometers into the sky.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Watch the speed number. 9.3 is our target number. Next up, the jettison of the fairing. It's covered the satellites on the ground and protected us from friction in the early part
Le
of the
pilotage est
flight.
calme, la propulsion est nominale.
And we don't need it anymore. It is going to be separating in a couple of seconds. Aha.
Séparation coiffe, trajectoire
And there you
nominale.
hear the DDO say separation coif. The fairing falls away. There you see the great photos from a previous flight. We just lost another 2 tons. And with the fairing gone, ViaSat 2 is exposed to space for the first time. While the launcher is technically in space,
La propulsion
we
est
still have
nominale.
a long way to go. I call your attention to the performance numbers on the screen, and you'll see that graph in the upper right-hand corner. The desired flight plan for Ariane 5, you'll see a dot moving along that line. We want that dot and that line
Les paramètres à bord
to
sont normaux.
overlap each other perfectly. That means that our performance is nominal, and you'll keep hearing the DDO call out performance is nominal. The main cryogenic stage, or EPC, is burning. It'll burn for 9 minutes. The heavy lifting being done by the mighty Vulcan engine,
Le pilotage est
gulping down
calme.
320 kilograms, about 700 pounds of fuel a second. That's 500 times more than a jet engine that you probably flew down here to Kourou on if you're here in the audience. You look at the images again right now, they are animated images.
La trajectoire est nominale.
We have the first stage, and then you have the Silda, the black covering that is over the top of Eutelsat 172B.
Propulsion est nominale.
And then ViaSat 2 on the tip of the sword as it makes its way on out toward orbit. You see again Galliot, the space tracking station that we have here in the local area. We're going to use 5 of those.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
We'll tell you more about those later. 537, you just heard the DDO say that performance is normal, and normal is good here at Kourou.
La propulsion est nominale.
Replays coming up in a moment. I could sit and watch replays of the Ariane launches all night
Il reste
long.
3 minutes de propulsion de l'étage à propulsion cryogénique.
Look at that raw power when those solid rocket boosters fired off. And once they do, the Ariane 5 is committed. It's going off that launch pad. 6:20 into the flight now. And the number one question I get from people is when I tell them, hey, I'm going to French Guiana for a rocket launch, they scratch
La
their head, they
propulsion
say,
est
why
correcte.
French Guiana? Well, the Kourou Space Base is about 300 miles north of the equator. And the Earth rotates faster here than it does, say, at Kennedy Space Center. Thus, the Ariane 5 gets a huge boost from the Earth's rotation, allowing satellite operators to launch heavier payloads, add more fuel to their birds, increase operational life, meaning more revenue.
Il reste
The
2 minutes de
bottom line
propulsion de l'étage à propulsion
that
cryogénique.
it pays more to, it pays off rather, to launch with Arianespace.
La trajectoire est nominale.
That's the bottom line. As we approach the 744 mark, that will be the next key thing to watch for. The Ariane 5 will be picked up by our tracking stations in Natal, Brazil. Tonight we're using 5 tracking stations. I told you about Galliot that is here, Natal in Brazil. Then out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean is Ascension Island. We use that tonight. Libreville, Gabon on the west coast of Africa. And
Acquisition de la télémesure Lancer par la station de Natal au Brésil.
And again, what happens is Ariane sends data to those ground stations, and that gives us the flight data in real time on how it's progressing. Later, engineers are going to pore over every single bit of that data to determine exactly how the vehicle performed every split second of its climb away from Kourou. And when we near 840, that's just a few seconds away, it'll be the cutoff for the main stage or the EPC.
La propulsion est toujours nominale.
You hear some of the calls from the DDO, and you're going to begin to see the flame on the end of the EPC begin to flicker.
Fin de propulsion de l'étage à propulsion cryogénique.
And
Séparation de l'EPC.
but it's separated, and the upper stage has fired.
Allumage de l'étage supérieur cryogénique. Trajectoire nominale.
And everything is nominal, and that means the main stage has done its job. Great pictures from a previous mission of it falling away. It drops into the ocean off Africa. The upper stage will burn for about 16 minutes. We're going pretty fast
propulsion
now.
est
The
nominale.
Ariane 5 is well on its way toward Africa. It's gaining speed by the second, and we again see some of the key personnel and VIPs here at the Jupiter Auditorium, located right below us. Most of the VIPs got here yesterday. They've been touring the base.
La trajectoire est
and
nominale.
the local area, and now they have the best seat in the house to enjoy tonight's launch. Another group of VIPs, like we say, from Boeing and ViaSat, are out at Tucson. That's an outdoor viewing site, and that's why you may not see quite as many people here at Jupiter as normal. And history is being made tonight. ViaSat 2 is the most powerful satellite ever launched with 300 gigabits.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
More than double the capacity of ViaSat 1, which previously held the title in the Guinness Book of World Records. ViaSat 2 represents the cutting edge of so-called high-throughput satellite technology, combining extremely powerful Ka-band satellite payloads with ground segment. Let's hear more about ViaSat 2.
Le pilotage est calme, la trajectoire est nominale.
I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough which has been made possible by developments in communications and, above all, the communications satellite. These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other wherever we may be.
The times I really like are when you're just at the beginning of some trend or capability that you know is going to run for a long time. And launching ViaSat 2 is the next big step in that journey.
ViaSat 2 makes big improvements over ViaSat 1 in both capacity and coverage.
It'll have double the capacity of ViaSat 1, which was already 10 to 20 times of what had come before.
The thing that we've done that matters the most is this advanced satellite designs.
The key is what you put in space. You just have to put lots and lots of bandwidth up in space.
ViaSat 2 brings flexibility, and it magnifies what we can do from a service perspective.
We're going to continue to improve the satellite's bandwidth economics as we go forward. People's data needs are going to continue to grow over time.
This mission that we're on, which is really connecting people, it's not just covering a lot of area, it's putting data where the people are.
The world wants faster connectivity, faster internet, more connectivity, so that's the way we're going to compete.
What separates us from the rest is we have the ability to provide a lot more capacity at a lower cost than the others do.
The demand for a satellite internet service that feels truly unlimited is huge.
ViaSat 2 will expand into all of North America, Central America, even down into the tip of South America, as well as the Caribbean and the North Atlantic Bridge.
It's got a much larger coverage area. It's going to be fantastic for our mobile airline business because there's a lot of capacity over oceans where airlines fly.
There are 7 billion people, and 3 to 4 billion people have no broadband internet connectivity.
It's really exciting to know that we will enable an unimaginable amount of good worldwide.
I think we're going to be a global communications company that helps people in education, in healthcare, and in entertainment and social reach.
It's really just going to open up, more opportunities to get the economics to the point where people all over the world can stream and experience the internet while on the plane or on a cruise ship or wherever they might be.
I think everybody's going to want the internet when they're in the air that they get on the ground. Right now, we're the only people in the world that can provide that.
Our motto was providing practical solutions to difficult communications problems. We still do it today, and we're going to continue to do it.
We are disrupting ourselves before anyone else can disrupt us.
We were the first true broadband company for the entire United States, and we're on a path to becoming the first broadband company for the entire world.
We have changed literally how people think about satellite communications.
ViaSat never seems to be afraid of doing what's never done before. It always just seems like the spark that kind of keeps us going.
Every time somebody said we couldn't do something, we studied those markets, understood new technologies, made those evolutions, and I don't think there's anything we can't do.
We can see a path to getting a big competitive advantage, providing a service that's really valuable. It's pretty rare to be able to find all that combination of stuff and see that it can go for 10 years. That's really exciting.
The only thing we can be sure of about the future is that it will be absolutely fantastic.
And we're back at Jupiter. We're nearing 15
Trajectoire est
minutes.
nominale, le pilotage est calme.
And during the film, we were acquired by the Ascension Islands. All's going well with the upper stage of the Ariane 5 ECA. Here's a few more fun facts about the ViaSat 2. It's the first satellite in the ViaSat fleet that has dynamic bandwidth allocation. That will allow the capacity to be moved to meet market demand. Also means no more trapped capacity on a satellite.
La propulsion de
When
l'ESC
deployed,
est
the
nominale.
solar arrays will span 158 feet, the same as a Boeing 767 jet. Weighs over 6,400 kilograms, same as 4.5 Toyota Camrys. It took 40 months to design and build. There's 23 miles worth of electrical cables on that satellite. ViaSat 2 utilizes hybrid propulsion. Traditional chemical boosters will do the heavy lifting initially, right? The orbit raising operations. Then highly efficient xenon electrical thrusters will do the rest of the work. At 16-18 into the mission, everything continues
Tous les
to go
paramètres à
well.
bord sont normaux, la
Let's hear
trajectoire est
more
nominale.
about ViaSat 2.
Well, working with Arianespace has been very enjoyable, very professional relationship. It worked well with ViaSat and Boeing, one team with a common goal. Really appreciate the stable and mature processes of the experienced launch teams, and the emphasis on quality is evident in everything: analyses, reports, hardware, services. Any issues that have arisen have been promptly addressed and resolved, and we're looking forward to a successful launch here and future launches with Arianespace, including one of the ViaSat 3s. Not just a supplier, but a real partner in this. Following separation, we'll acquire the satellite within about 25 minutes through a ground station in Hassan, India. The next few days will be spent in low Earth orbit performing basic health checks, configuring the spacecraft for orbital operations, performing ranging so we can refine our orbit raising plan. ViaSat 2 has a hybrid propulsion system using both chemical and electric propulsion. The chemical phase comes first and will take about 2 weeks. Following that, we'll deploy our solar arrays and begin electric orbit raising, which will take a few months. Following our arrival at geostationary orbit, we'll deploy reflectors and radiator panels and perform an orbit test, which will lead to a handover late this year and then entry into service.
And we're back at Jupiter, and all is well. Key officials from Eutelsat and Airbus
Le pilotage est calme, la trajectoire est nominale.
worked for many years on Eutelsat 172B. Riding in the lower position tonight, it's the first high-power, all-electric satellite satellite to be built in Europe, launched by Arianespace. It'll be positioned over the Asia-Pacific region with vast looking angles sweeping from Alaska down
Acquisition de la
to New
télémesure
Caledonia.
lanceur par la
And it
station
will
de
be
Libreville au Gabon.
Eutelsat's new workhorse for markets that include maritime connectivity, government, video, and data services.
La
One of the
trajectoire est
most
nominale.
exciting features, high throughput payload with 11 elliptical beams used for in-flight service connectivity over some of the world's busiest flight paths. Eutelsat, marking 40 years in business, began as a regional satellite system for Europe. It's grown into one of the largest satellite operators in the world. 39 satellites circling the Earth. Also has 4 more on order to launch.
Le pilotage est calme, la trajectoire est nominale.
At this time, Eutelsat has a cumulative 500 years of on-orbit experience. And ViaSat and Eutelsat are not just sharing a rocket tonight. They've been strong business partners for about 10 years. Time now to hear about Eutelsat 172B. It's quite a satellite, and as I mentioned, it's an all-electric satellite built by Airbus.
Le pilotage est
And
calme,
on
la
top of that,
trajectoire est nominale.
they like to call it compact, savvy, and smart. For example, because of electronic propulsion, it weighs just 3,500 kilograms, saving almost 2 metric tons. But that's not all. As you'll see in a moment, this satellite incorporates cutting-edge technologies, components made on 3D printers, multi-port amplifiers to dynamically allocate bandwidth across spot beams, and the first of their kind robotic arms that will precisely orient the electronic thrusters to maximize efficiency. It is truly a cutting-edge satellite.
La
And it's
propulsion
time
est
now
nominale.
to hear more about Eutelsat 172B.
Yes, like most communication satellites, these will be geostationary. The rocket will only send them in geostationary transfer orbit, though the satellites will circularize the orbit themselves with their own maneuvering engines.
And there you hear our announcement from the DDO. The upper stage of the Ariane 5 is nearing the end of its 16 minutes of work, and it is a real workhorse. We're looking tonight at 9.3 kilometers per second for the magic number. And you know, when you look at that speed, it's virtually impossible to imagine. But consider this: fastest man on Earth is Usain Bolt. He runs about 10 meters a second. The fastest car, a Ferrari, 100 meters a second. A bullet, about 1,000 meters a second. Ariane 5, over 9 times the speed of a bullet. That's faster than Superman. The work of the upper stage is almost over. Again, 25-24. You see it has just gone out.
Extinction de l'étage supérieur cryogénique.
And there's the announcement from the DDO. And the ESC has completed the propulsion stage of the mission. You
Début de la phase d'orientation au profit de la charge utile haute, ViaSat 2.
That we've reached the point we need to speed-wise. Events happen really rapidly now. We've entered the ballistic stage. The engineers here call it the SCAR phase, but for us normal folks, let's call it the space ballet. The powerful computers aboard the Ariane 5 are now making the calculations to align the vehicle precisely for the next step. And let's assess where we're at. We're high enough, we're going fast enough. The boosters and the 2 stages of the Ariane 5 have done their job. The need for raw power is over. Now it's about pinpoint precision. This is when those pocket protectors and slide rules really come into play. This is the real science in rocket science kicking in. And it's what we call guidance, navigation, and control. This is one of the primary subsystems on the launcher. The first step is to orient the launcher for the release of ViaSat 2.
Fin de la phase d'orientation au profit de ViaSat 2.
On the side of the composite, and it is going to exactly position that composite, and we mean exactly. And years worth of work by the folks at
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Are now down to, let's see, 2 minutes. 29:24 is the magic number. So look and watch for that number. 29 minutes, 24 seconds into the mission. And at that point, a set of springs will jettison or release ViaSat 2 from the top of the Silda and the composite. And again, you know, I've heard this described as almost like having a baby. And I missed fatherhood, okay? I didn't get married till I was late in life. But some of these people who worked on these programs for Eutelsat, for ViaSat, and I've been here many times for these missions, they almost cry when they see it happen because they have put years and years of work into making this thing happen. And it comes down literally to the next minute before this satellite is separated, and then a few more minutes for our friends at Eutelsat 172B. Excuse me. And we'll watch closely. You see it's following the curve perfectly. And we're now down to about 25 seconds as the first part of the space ballet is nearing its completion. We will await the word from the DDO, and I'll shut up for a moment.
Séparation ViaSat 2.
And there it is. And again, Vostal of the ViaSat and Boeing people are out at Toucan. They're not here. I'm sure there's a lot of smiles out there. But the tradition at Kourou is to hold the real applause until both satellites have been separated. The Ariane family of launchers now has delivered 558 satellites into orbit. Eutelsat 172B, which will have the honor of being number 559, is only 12 minutes now away from following ViaSat 2 into orbit. The next act of the space ballet is going to begin now. We need to turn the composite away from the direction that we sent ViaSat 2. Then we're going to prepare to jettison that Silda. It's the black structure. It's like a small fairing. It's the secret sauce of the Ariane 5. It makes dual satellite launches
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
And it has protected Eutelsat 172B. It's provided the base mounted ViaSat 2. And we want to be sure to send it in a different direction than either of those two satellites. The precision of these steps can't be understated. Imagine again what's happening. We're at 8.5 kilometers a second. We are on the opposite side of the world. The composite and Eutelsat 172 are racing away from us
Tous les paramètres à bord sont
over
normaux.
Africa. And if you've ever seen the movie Gravity, you know that really bad things happen when the smallest piece of an object collides with satellites in space. So the Silda is no small piece. It's 5 meters tall. It weighs 500 kilograms. So Ariane is always sure to separate it safely. On the animation, you see it.
Séparation du Silda.
And the DDO confirms it. We have made the next critical step in the space ballet. And now, for the first time, that technological marvel of
Début de la manœuvre d'orientation au profit de Eutelsat 172B.
has seen the sun. But there's still more of the space ballet to go. And onboard computers are now calculating the exact course needed for dropping off Eutelsat 172B.
This is the 8th program I've worked on for Eutelsat on the 4th in crew. I'm delighted to make this video today as we complete almost 34 months of collaboration by Eutelsat, Airbus Defence and Space, and Arianespace on the design, manufacturing, test, and preparation of this unique satellite. I take this opportunity to salute the enthusiasm and commitment of this European dream team. Many hundreds of people from our companies have delivered a highly sophisticated triple mission satellite that is still compact enough to fit into the lower position of an Ariane 5 rocket. Eutelsat 172B is a flagship program for Eutelsat. It reflects our ambition to innovate with customers and to ensure we are leveraging the best technologies to make satellites relevant for users. Huge work has been done to get where we are today. This is more to come with the launch, the orbit raising, the in-orbit test, and of course many years of operation. 40 minutes after liftoff, Eutelsat 172B will be separated from Ariane 5 upper stage, and my thoughts are with my colleagues on the Airbus team in Toulouse, who will take over for the electrical orbit raising. Greetings to you all from Kourou. I'm sure you will have impatient to get to work. It's a privilege to work in the space industry with people who are highly skilled and are passionate about what they do. This launch campaign was no exception and brought us to the best in all of us in terms of team spirit, trust, and relentless dedication. I'm proud to be part of this program and look forward, as I'm sure you all do, to seeing our satellite start its life in space in a few moments and its long and prosperous commercial life in a few months. To conclude, as Eutelsat always said just before liftoff, Ariane, Go Airbus, go Eutelsat 172B.
And go we are as we continue to move toward the monumental moment when we will release Eutelsat 172B. That will happen at 41:45 into flight. 41:45 is the magic number for Eutelsat 172B. And again, as we're back at Jupiter, that orbital ballet is continuing. The upper stage and Eutelsat 172B being configured for the correct attitude. You know, as Stefan Israel mentioned in his opening comments, tonight the Ariane 5 ECA is setting another record for total payload. We're placing 10,865 kilograms into space. ViaSat 2, 6,418. Eutelsat 172B tips the scales at 3,551 kilos. And the remainder made up of all the rest of the support structures and the Silda. And it's amazing to consider how big modern satellites are. On October 4th, we will celebrate the 60th anniversary of Sputnik, the first man-made satellite placed in orbit. It was 58 centimeters, a 24-inch ball. It weighed 83 kilograms. That's 184 pounds. All it could do was send out a beep, beep, beep tone. And it represented an amazing leap in technology. That little beep, beep, beep was the spark that ignited the space race and focused attention on satellite communications. It's fair to say that the beep, beep from Sputnik put us on the road to where we are tonight here in Kourou. Well, compared to Sputnik, either ViaSat 2 or Eutelsat 172B would just be considered a giant. Even before unfolding its solar arrays, ViaSat 2 is 6 meters tall, 3 meters wide. Those panels, wingspan of a Boeing 767, 18.3 kilowatts of power. Eutelsat 172B, it's a little bit smaller, but it stands 3.7 meters tall. When folded up for flight, it still would loom over Sputnik, and when deployed, the solar panels, 39 meters tip to tip, generating an incredible 13 kilowatts of power, even at the end of a 15-year lifespan. And you know, it has 14 C-band, 36 Ku, and 11 high-throughput Ka-band transponders. Oh, and the last thing, consider the life of the satellites. Both of tonight's satellites will be operating 15 years from now. And Sputnik ran out of power and went silent 21 days after launch. It entered the atmosphere, burnt up January 4th, 1958. You know, we recall, I mentioned those 5 telemetry stations we're using. Well, here's an inside look at what we do with all the data that comes back from the Ariane 5. It arrives at the CVI, located inside the Galileo tracking station on a mountain just south of the launch base. A 4-person team called the Immediate Visual Control Team monitors 150 critical parameters in real time out of more than about 1,000 that they actually get. The rest of that data stored on massive hard drives. It will be analyzed in the next week or two. And that will allow the engineers to know exactly how each system performed tonight. And remember, this really is rocket science, and engineers like to be real precise. That process of sharing technical and operational data with customers from day one, since the contract signing through the launch campaign and the post-flight analysis, is really a key part of Arianespace's commitment to absolute transparency. The customer and Arianespace are considered a team. From the beginning till the end, they work as one with a single goal: the safe, on-time, and on-target delivery of each customer's valuable payload into orbit. It's that commitment to the smallest of details that has played a major role in the success record of the Ariane family of launch vehicles. Tonight, the 79th success in a row for Ariane 5 as soon as deployment of Eutelsat 172B. Again, watch the clock. The magic number, 41 minutes, 45 seconds. So we're talking about a minute and 10 seconds away from Eutelsat 172B being successfully transferred into geostationary transfer orbit. Just as the tension was high for our friends at ViaSat, so it is with Eutelsat, and seconds to go before we get that call again at 41:45. The final steps of the space ballet, making absolutely sure we're right on path before the springs lit Eutelsat 172B go. And when it does, something else will go, and that's the roof off this place, so the celebration that will take place as the 79th success in a row for Ariane 5 will happen.
Manœuvre d'orientation au profit d'Eutelsat 172B.
We'll let you listen. There's the animation.
Séparation Eutelsat 172B.
And it's happened again at ViaSat and Eutelsat. Success tonight. The Ariane 5 has delivered again and again and again, and 79 in a row tonight. One can only imagine the thrill being experienced by the officials from all the companies. You heard the cheer going up here, handshakes, and all around. You know, it's just become something that is almost become normal here, which is success. And it's all because of that teamwork that we talked about before. Years of hard work came down to the last hour, and their confidence placed in Arianespace and the Ariane 5 ECA has paid off. And again, while the celebration's in full swing here at Jupiter and at the Tucson viewing site, there still is one last step that has to happen in that space ballet. The engineers here at Jupiter have to oversee it. And remember, I told you the vehicle equipment bay we talked about and the rest of the upper composite? Well, we have to move that into yet one further direction. So it's pointed away from where we sent Eutelsat 172B, ViaSat 2, and the Silda. When that's done, along with some last-minute technical adjustments, the VA237 mission will officially come to an end. And while we wait for the official speeches from several of the VIPs, you see the technicians are on the phone checking on the status of their satellites and the other technicians around the world. We remind you that the work may be over here in Kourou, but it's only begun for the satellite operators. As you saw in the videos earlier, both ViaSat 2 and Eutelsat 172B will need a few months to get from the geostationary transfer orbit, GTO, that we placed them in tonight to their permanent homes at geostationary orbit. Basically 70 degrees west for ViaSat 2 and 172 degrees east for Eutelsat. There it is again, just a matter of what, 45 minutes ago. The mighty Ariane 5 roaring off the pad. Here comes another replay. And again, we could watch those all night long as from different angles, it all looks incredible. You see some of the people from ViaSat on the phone checking on the status of their satellite, Eutelsat doing the same thing. And the official speeches will actually occur after we have confirmed the health of both of the satellites. Again, 558 and 559, the count of satellites successfully placed into orbit by the Ariane family. And look at that picture as night turned into day here in the Amazon jungle. And it really is a rumble in the jungle when that baby takes off. When those solid rocket boosters ignite, we're going. And it is a real rumble that echoes across this place and then on out over Devil's Island. So again, 79 times in a row, the Ariane 5 has been successful. And again, we're just waiting for official confirmation. And the officials will be moving out of what we call the fishbowl here at Jupiter, and will be approaching the podium to make their comments. Here's another replay. And again, the engineers on the phone just making sure everything's going well. Both Eutelsat 172B and ViaSat. Look at this. This one must be from Jupiter, I assume. You know, I've been down here 12 times. This is 12th time doing a launch, and I've never seen one because I'm inside doing the broadcast. But wow, that is incredible. See Ariane 5 roars into the sky. And again, here at Jupiter, where the VIPs went on the balcony, we're about 13 kilometers away from the launch pad. So it takes about a minute for the sound and the rumble to meet us here. Those people who were at Tucson tonight, they were only 5 kilometers away, and it didn't take long, I'm sure, for the sound and the sensation, the rumble, to hit them there. And again, you know, you see the smiles, and it goes back to what I said about all the years of hard work. You know, when you calculate the number of man hours, women hours, person hours, to build a satellite like Eutelsat 172B and all the cutting edge technology that went into that satellite. I dare say, you know, I've heard some of them have almost 1 million hours worth of total work that has been put into construct one of these modern satellites. And the two that we launched tonight were cutting edge. And these were not your garden variety satellites. And that's why they entrusted them to Arianespace. Here's Stefan Israel.
Monsieur le Préfet, Mesdames et Messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Arianespace.
Now again, I'm going to cut the speeches short. The typical speeches of the Arianespace launches. You can see them later. I will upload the full coverage. But for now, let's rewatch the actual launch itself. Here you can notice that the fuel is actually still flowing till pretty much almost up to the separation of the fueling arms, since this rocket is powered by hydrogen, and that is very difficult to handle. It is very light and very undense, so it has to be super cooled, and therefore, as it is used in a launch system, it is usually not really durably contained in the fuel tank, but just emptied quickly enough, and the main fuel tank has to be fueled constantly almost up to the launch and topped off. So this is also why the arms in this case retract just before the launch, other than in other rockets where they often retract like 10 minutes before the launch. Now, unfortunately, it was rather cloudy today over the Space Center, so the live footage of the rocket dims away rather quickly. You can, however, see the launch animation, which is essentially data sent live from the rocket's navigation system down to the Space Center on Earth, and then put into a basic computer visualizing system. It's basically as if you took KSP and just instead of launching a rocket in KSP, you feed in data from the actual rocket's navigation system. So yes, these images are CGI, as some flat earthers pride themselves in remarking. Obviously these images are CGI. That's because there's no camera flying along the rocket. It's navigational data crunched into a computer to display an image. Now, as you can see at the speed indicator, the rocket is hardly accelerating at the point of booster separation. That is because the main engine has just enough thrust to keep the rocket going, and as it gets lighter, it will then start accelerating again. Now I'll show you one more replay of this launch of the actual liftoff. Then I will end the live stream unless there are many questions. Also, in 2 days, the CLS-11 is going to make the next launch attempt, and some hours from now, the Soyuz capsule will detach from the ISS and return back to Earth with 3 astronauts, which will later on then be stocked up again with new astronauts launching later this month.